Oh, hey guys, what's going on? It's MJ's Raw Review, and I'm coming to you from mjfitness.au. Awesome Raw Review for the viewers at home today. This one has been, I'm going to say it's like 10 years in the making on the reformulation, the reintroduction, the re-revelation of one of the most popular Stim-Free pre-workouts, Australian made of all time, from our good friends at Primabolics. It is, of course, Primabolics Grind V2 in the house. Let's get straight into it, show you guys exactly what's in it, tell you exactly what it's gonna do. This nutritional information panel, tiny, ain't gonna get it done, and we about to go balls deep in this here Primabolics Grind V2. Luckily, big ass nutritional information panel appearing on screen for the viewers. Starting from the top, we got ourselves 40 scoops per tub, 2 scoops in a full serve, so 22 scoop full serves in each and every tub. Each scoop weighs 12 grams. A full 2 scoop serve, 24 grams. Man, that's a big serve for a, not just for a pre-workout, for a Stim-Free pre-workout. Of those 24 grams, if we do a quick sum and we add up the 13 active ingredients, of which 2 are trademarked, the Vaso 6 and the Alpha Size Alpha GPC, more on those in a second, we quickly discover we're dealing with 21.655 milligrams of actives in a 2 scoop serve, which is exceptional. Guys, that means 90% active ingredients and only 10% flavors, sweeteners, colors, and non-active ingredients. That's unheard of when it comes to not just a pre-workout, but that's unheard of when it comes to supplements in general. That's ridiculous. 90% active ingredients. In terms of what the actives are made up of, I mentioned there was 13 of them, of which 2 are trademark registered. As always, we're going to see how the Grind V2 stacks up against the 5 effects we look for in complete Stim-Free pre-workouts. Effect number 1 going to be nitric oxide for improved blood flow and muscle pumps. Effect number 2 going to be muscle power and strength. Effect number 3, muscular endurance. Effect number 4, mental focus and elevation in mood. And then effect number 5, the newbie to the mix, hydration. Let's go through them one by one. Effect number 1, nitric oxide for the muscle pumps. We're dealing with a big dose of L-citrulline malate, 6,000 milligrams. And these doses I go through is going to be the full 2 scoop serve. Full 2 scoop serve. 6,000 milligrams. That is a clinical dose of citrulline malate. Citrulline boosts nitric oxide through the arginine pathway because citrulline is a precursor to arginine. Arginine is a precursor to nitric oxide. We're off to a good start. Vaso or Vaso 6, registered, trademarked in the full clinical study dose, 300 milligrams. This is a direct vasodilating ingredient. Full clinical dose. We've got some nice synergism happening here already. And then the third ingredient that ties into the pumps, baby. It's got to be the potassium nitrate, 500 milligrams, which obviously yields potassium and nitrates, which is going to boost nitric oxide through the nitrite nitric oxide pathway. It is quite light on the dose. I would like to see at least 1,000 milligrams, if not more, of this particular type of nitrate to get a nice juicy amount of nitrates. But we've got synergism happening here, guys. We've got nitric oxide through the citrulline arginine pathway. We've got nitric oxide through the nitrite nitric oxide pathway. We've got direct vasodilation from the Vaso 6. Big tick for effect number 1, muscle pumps, nitric oxide, nutrient delivery. Effect number 2, muscle power and strength. This historically has been where Grind has really separated itself from other Stim-Free pre-workouts, and this V2 reformulated, improved version is no exception. We have a full 5,000 milligrams of creatine monohydrate. That is a full clinical dose of creatine monohydrate in each and every 2 scoop serve. Throw your creatine out. You don't need that shit. Grind V2 has you covered on training days, at least, unless you take it on days you don't train. We'll get to that in a second. But full clinical dose of creatine, obviously a precursor to ATP. ATP is the fuel that our body uses when it taps into the phosphate energy system to power short, sharp muscle contractions and intense exercise. That by itself would be enough to get a tick, but it's combined with betaine anhydrous in a 2,500 milligram dose. That is considered a clinical dose of betaine anhydrous. Betaine is a precursor to creatine, so we have some nice synergism happening with the muscle power and strength. Big tick! 2 out of 2. Effect number 3, muscular endurance. We have a full clinical dose, 3.2 grams or 3,200 milligrams of a beta-alanine. Beta-alanine, a precursor to carnosine, which helps buffer fatigue toxins, lactic acid, hydrogen ions in particular. Big tick. We're at 3 out of 3. Effect number 4, mental focus and elevation in mood. Once again, one of these parts of this formula where grind historically has separated itself from the competition. What are we dealing with this V2? We've got L-tyrosine, 1,000 milligrams. That's a solid dose of L-tyrosine. L-tyrosine is a precursor to L-dopa, which is a precursor to dopamine, which is going to increase elevation in mood. It's going to elevate mood. It's going to increase feelings of well-being, make you just feel really, really nice. We then have alpha GPC, registered trademarked alpha GPC, 300 milligram dose. That is a solid dose of alpha GPC. Alpha GPC is a precursor to acetylcholine, which helps with mental focus. So we've got elevation and mood. We got mental focus. We then have Huperzia serrata, 5 milligrams, yielding 1% huperzine A. Huperzine A prevents the breakdown of excess acetylcholine. It actually attaches to acetylcholine esterase, the enzyme that's responsible for the breakdown of excess acetylcholine, so it prolongs mental focus when combined with a source of choline. We have alpha GPC in here. We've got some nice synergism. That's just going to increase that feeling of mental focus. Big tick for effect number 4. And now the newbie, hydration. Now, previously, back in the day, the original grind didn't have much for hydration. No glycerol, no hyperhydrating ingredients, no dedicated electrolytes outside of the potassium in the potassium nitrate. Primabolics back to the drawing board and said, you know what? People want hydration. Hydration is now the 5th effect that we look for in Stim-Free pre-workouts and actually Stim-based pre-workouts as well. So we have to address this, and they have addressed it very well. Glycerol monostearate, 2,000 milligrams, is a hyperhydration ingredient, the glycerol in particular. It's a decent dose of glycerol. I personally would have liked to see a glycosize or a registered trademarked form of glycerol rather than glycerol monostearate, but it is in here nonetheless. And it's combined with full spectrum electrolytes. So we're dealing with potassium chloride, which yields both potassium and chloride, 400 milligrams. Himalayan pink salt, which is obviously going to yield sodium in a 350 milligram dose, and then magnesium citrate in a 100 milligram dose. So we've got potassium chloride, sodium, and magnesium, full spectrum electrolytes combined with the nice dose of glycerol. Big tick for hydration. We're at 5 out of 5. Man, I love it when brands come through, reformulate, and add to formulas and make them even better. And that's on paper, that's exactly what Primabolics have done with this Grind V2. What is it missing? Because you know we've got to play devil's advocate here. On paper, very solid formula, ticks all 5 boxes, nice synergism across most of the effects. It does everything that you want a Stim-Free pre-workout to do. However, if we're gonna really dig deep, and you know we like to go balls deep, more nitrates to boost nitric oxide. I mentioned the potassium nitrate is a little light on the dosing. I would like to see at least twice that amount in terms of the nitrate side, plenty of potassium, but in terms of the nitrate side to boost muscle pumps. In addition, I'd love to see something to prolong those muscle pumps. Agmatine to prevent the breakdown of excess nitric oxide. Norvaline to prevent the breakdown of excess arginine because we've got such a big dose of citrulline malate in there. Something to prolong the pumps would be a nice addition. Elevate-TP or PKTP or a registered trademarked ingredient that works nicely with creatine and betaine to help boost muscle power and strength would be an amazing addition to this formula just to boost that effect up. And then from an endurance perspective, adding something like a Pico 2, adding something like a taurine, adding something like a creatine phosphate, something to work nicely synergistically with the beta-alanine to prolong the muscular endurance would be a nice addition as well. The nootropic, don't fuck with it, it's perfect, and I'll talk more about those effects in a second. And the hydration, I think really the only addition would be a different form of glycerol, a glycosize, for example. Something that just yields a little bit more glycerol than glycerol monostearate would be a nice addition. But I mean, that's really kind of, you know, really playing devil's advocate. On paper, 5 effects, done well, ticks all the boxes. It is an even better version of the original grind, viewers at home. In terms of how it tastes, how it mixes, it comes in 5 flavors. Comes in mango, comes in grape, comes in paradise fruit, comes in strawberry kiwi, comes in the iconic, which actually was exclusive to us for many, many years in the original grind, red frog. In terms of how it tastes, how it mixes, infamous MJ's taste and mixability test about to go down. We got our double wall glass. We have 400 mils of water in an MJ shaker because we're going to follow the directions down to a T. Mix 1 to 2 scoops with 300 to 400 mil of water and consume 20 minutes prior to your workout. I've trained this morning already, so it's not going to be prior to my workout, but we're going to take 2 scoops and we're going to drop 2 scoops in 400 mils of water. Now, so far as the scoop is concerned, it is an interesting scoop. It's not a typical scoop that you kind of see like with the square edges and the circular bottom. It's kind of like a spherical scoop. But scoop test, a level spherical scoop, which, just so you guys know what's up, looks like that, is bang on 12 grams. So I don't give a fuck what shape the scoop is, because I am sick and tired of supplement companies making scoops that are the wrong size, especially when it comes to pre-workouts and fat burners. Primabolics, bravo. Your scoop's a little weird, to be completely honest, but it's bang on 12 grams. So level scoop, bang on 12 grams. We're gonna take 2 of those. 1, level scoop number 2, 2. We're gonna let it rain, let it rain. Can't get no grind on the table over here. Let me flick the lid on here. A few flicks of the wrist. I'm gonna refresh my memory on how it tastes. I'm gonna show you guys how it mixes. And then I'm gonna rank the flavors for you, because I've tried all 5, noting the flavors are new and improved. All right. Grind V2, mixability. I don't get much more perfect than that. Look at that. Perfectly mixed from top to bottom. I can let you guys know, if I let it sit there, the creatine monohydrate, the full 5 grams, 5,000 milligrams of creatine monohydrate, as is the nature of creatine monohydrate, not particularly soluble, so it is going to, you can kind of see it already kind of settling down the bottom of this double wall glass. That being said, it mixes very, very well. You can actually mix it in a glass with a spoon if you wanted to, so I'm going to go so far as to say turbo ball is not required. For this grind V2, this is the strawberry kiwi flavor, viewers at home, my personal tub. Let me refresh my memory on how it tastes. Oh man. Fuck. All right, story time. I was first introduced to grind, the original grind, through the owner, Will Warren Davey, owner of Primabolics, back at the Arnold Sports Festival Australia in, I'm gonna say it was like 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. So almost 10 years ago. And Will started this company, Primabolics. He had the one product at the time. It was the original grind. And he came to the MJ's mega booth and he was showing me this product. He said, man, this is my first product, new company. I've been in the sup game for a little bit. I'm going out, doing my own thing. This is grind. Bought me a couple of tubs to try. He said, just try it. Just try it. Let me know what you think. At the time, the first thing I did was I looked at the formula, obviously, at the mega booth. And I was like, fuck, this is a very comprehensive Stim-Free formula. This ticks all the boxes. And at the time, this is 10 years ago, guys, we didn't really know what the menu for pre-workouts looked like back then. It was kind of like, okay, muscle pumps, bit of power, bit of endurance. We didn't really know. Like now we know the 5 effects. Very easy to know what we're looking for. But back then I was like, fuck, this is, I'm gonna train on this tomorrow morning and see how it goes. I trained on it the next morning and it was fucking incredible. Went back, saw Will at the mega booth the next day at the Island Sports Festival. I said, man, I want to place an order. We need to get this in our stores, on our site. This is an incredible Stim-Free pre-workout, just on the formula. The other thing that really impressed me was the flavor. So once again, 10 years ago, pre-workouts generally tasted like shit. Primabolics Grind, the OG, back then I think there was 2 flavors. I reckon there was like a strawberry kiwi. I think this was actually the first flavor I ever tried. Strawberry kiwi, and I think he had a mango back then as well. I think it was just the 2 flavors. And both of them were awesome. I trained on them that whole weekend. I threw my other pre-workout out, and so I'm training on the original grind every morning, V2, and at night, because I was doing double sessions back then. And the flavor was incredible. And I was like, this is not only is this a kick-ass formula, but the flavors are like some of the best that I've seen in a pre-workout, not just a Stim-Free, but in a pre-workout. So that was almost 10 years ago. I really like what Primabolics have done specifically with the flavoring because it is new and improved. They've taken what already was exceptional flavoring for a Stim-Free pre-workout and made it even better. And the way that they've done that, in my opinion, is they've just kind of taken the harshness off, the kind of the artificialiness off, too much sour tone, too much sweet tone. Just that they've taken the edge off. And now the flavors are even better. They're even easier to drink. They're an absolute pleasure to drink. I mean, this strawberry kiwi is head and shoulders above the original strawberry kiwi, which was head and shoulders above most of the competition already. Bravo, Primabolics. You guys have outdone yourself with these flavors. If I had to rank them, I've got such a nostalgic connection with Red Frog because that was a collaboration piece that we did with Primabolics. It was Massive Joe's Red Frog for many, many years. It was exclusive to us. I still think that's the best flavor. It's even better now. It's no longer exclusive to us, so it's broadly available in the marketplace. I think Red Frog is the best flavor. Closely behind Red Frog, probably gonna go to Strawberry Kiwi. I really enjoy, this is my personal tub, obviously. I really enjoy the strawberry kiwi. Behind that, Paradise Fruits is really nice, which is kind of like a mango, pineapple, passion fruit. I reckon there's a bit of passion fruit. It's just a nice kind of tropical mixture of flavors. Then probably after Paradise Fruits, mango and grape for me are kind of neck and neck, I would say, like right there. But that's how I would rank them. I think Red Frog is and it may be just my nostalgic connection, but I think it is still iconic and I think it's still the best flavor. That being said, I mean, personal preference, all the flavors are fucking amazing. All of them are legitimate. You know when brands say, we improved the flavoring and they did fucking nothing and it tastes exactly the same? Legitimately, Primabolics have improved all of the flavors across the board. So if you are a big fan of the original grind and the original grind flavors, this is gonna fucking knock your socks off. You're not gonna be disappointed. In terms of the effects, all right, here we go. Pumps, very good, but they do fade towards the end of your workout. That has always been the Achilles heel in grind, and it still is the Achilles heel in grind. But the pumps are very, very good. Just keep in mind that if you're doing longer workouts, 90 minutes plus, the pumps are gonna fade because there's nothing in there to prolong those muscle pumps. They come on very, very intense, very heavy. They're nice, but they do fade. Power is very good. This is one of the things that Grind does better than most other Stim-Free pre-workouts. power and strength, you feel powerful, you feel fucking strong. Endurance is also very good, definitely noticeable. I mean, full clinical dose of beta-alanine, you're gonna notice the muscular endurance. You can just train for longer than you otherwise would be able to. Mental focus and mood is significant. It definitely errs on the side of mental focus more than mood. This is the Stim-Free pre-workout that, without the use of stimulants, gets you wired in, gets you zoned in. That is what Grind does, and it does it better than any other Stim-Free pre-workout that we have seen thus far. And then the new effect, hydration. I mean, it's hydration, right? Like, you don't really notice much from it, but it does tie into all of the other effects. So the glycerol and the electrolytes help with better muscle pumps, help with better muscle power because of the cell communication across cells using the electrolytes. It helps with better muscular endurance because now you're putting out what your body's putting back in, what your body's sweating out. It helps with all of those physical performance effects. And I do think that all of the effects across the board are slightly better in the Grind V2 than they are in the original Grind. And really, the only thing I can put that down to is the glycerol and the added electrolytes. It's a fucking great Stim-Free pre-workout. Ticks all the boxes, does everything incredibly well. I mean, if you want all of the physical and psychological effects of a pre-workout without caffeine and other stimulants, Grind V2 is very, very hard to go past. Very, very hard. But we'll see how it stacks up in a second. In terms of the side effects, there's really nothing to report. If you have a sensitive stomach, I would just be cautious of taking it on an empty stomach, especially if you train first thing in the morning. 24 grams in a 2-scoop serve, of which 21 grams are active ingredients. There's a lot of active ingredients, so there is the potential that it may upset your stomach if you're training on an empty stomach. So just have a little bit of food beforehand, you'll be sweet. Stackability, you can stack it with anything, really, anything. Stacks with stim-based pre-workouts, whatever the fuck you want. The one thing is, just beware of the nootropics, because the nootropics here, the tyrosine, the alpha GPC, the huperzine A, very well put together, very synergistic. The doses are perfect. If you start messing with that because you're stacking it with a pre or a Stim-Free pre that has other nootropics, it's going to start to throw the nootropic effect off, and you might not get the mental focus that you're expecting to get from the Grind V2. What does it compare to? Now, as is tradition, we always take a product in raw review and put it up against two alternatives, two competitors. I'm going to do something a little bit different because in the Australian marketplace, there really are 3 very good Stim-Free pre-workouts available right now. None of, just to be completely upfront, back when the original Grind came out almost 10 years ago, none of these products existed. So these products have come into the market, some of them only in the last couple of years. And I think to do Grind justice and to do justice to the entire Stim-Free pre-workout marketplace in Australia, I'm going to put it up against all 3. So the first one's going to be Transparent Supplements, Pump Juice. The second is going to be Nexus Sports Nutrition, Amped. And the third is going to be the all-new Zombie Labs Pumps. Let's go one by one. Pump Juice. Pump Juice. The pumps are better and longer lasting. That's why it's called Pump Juice. Pump Juice power is very similar. Endurance is very similar. Mood is better. Mental focus is not as good. Hydration is very similar. Pump Juice has 6 flavors plus unflavored, so an extra flavor plus the unflavored for stacking if you want to stack it. I personally think the Grind flavors, especially now, are better across the board. I prefer drinking Grind to Pump Juice, and Pump Juice flavors are very good. Grind flavors are just a little bit better. Pump Juice is also $5 more expensive for the same number of scoops and serves. So stacking the two up, I think the way you kind of distill that out, Pump Juice is better for pumps, Grind is better for mental focus, Grind tastes a bit better, and it's better value for money. Nexus Amped. Amped pumps are not as good as Grind. Power is nowhere near as good as Grind. It's the main gap in the Amped formula. Endurance in Amped is slightly better than Grind. Mood is better. Focus is not as good as Grind. The hydration effect is very similar. Amped has 8 flavors, and they're some of the best candy, sweet-based flavors in the game, man. Nexus, oof. You love your sweet flavors? Nexus are the undisputed kings of those punchy, in-your-face, sweet type flavors. And I personally, for me personally, because I do love those flavors, I think that I actually prefer the Amp flavors to even the new and improved grind flavors across the board. Amp is also $5 cheaper for the same number of scoops, same number of serves. So to distill these two out, I think grind is better for pumps and power and focus. Amped is better for endurance, mood, and flavors, and Amped is a little bit cheaper. Last but not least, Zombie Labs pumps. Pumps, interestingly enough, the pumps are not as good as grinds, in my personal opinion. The power is nowhere near as good. Once again, it is the biggest gap in the pumps formula. Endurance is slightly better than grind. It's just got more beta-alanine, to be honest, but because of that, the tingles are pretty fucking intense as well. So if you don't like the tingles, you're probably not gonna like the pumps. Pumps mood is better, focus is not as good. Pumps hydration is not quite as good because it doesn't have glycerol. Pumps has 6 flavors plus unflavored, so 1 more flavor plus an unflavored for stacking. They're all quite good and they're all quite similar to grind flavors, to be honest. They're really easy to drink. The actual flavors are quite similar as well. So pumps do like candy-based flavors, fruit-based flavors. Grind obviously do those types of flavors as well. Pumps is $5 cheaper, once again, for the same number of serves, same number of scoops. So to distill this out, I think grind is better than pumps when it comes to pumps, strength and power. Pumps endurance is slightly better. Pumps mood is better, but grind focus is better. Grind hydration is better. Flavors, very similar. Pumps is a little bit better value for money. So that's how grind stacks up. Which leads me to the question, who is the grind V2 best for? Look, I think if you're looking for a cover all bases, Stim-Free pre-workout that really hammers home mental focus as like best in class, as you know what, I want a Stim-Free pre that does pumps, yes, power, yes, endurance, yes, hydration, yes, elevation of mood, yes, but I really want one that makes me feel like I'm training on stimulants without training on stimulants. I really think the Grind V2, I don't think that there's anything that beats it when it comes to that. So if you're looking for a Stim-Free pre that does everything and nails home that mental focus effect, the Grind V2 is your ticket. Last but not least, price and value for money. $74 for the 40 serves, 22 scoop serves. It's $1.85 per scoop, $3.70 per 2 scoop serve. Doesn't matter how you cut those numbers, guys. It is a very good value for money for a premium Stim-Free pre-workout supplement. Guys, that's a wrap for this raw review on the all new Primabolics Grind V2 in the house. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to the MJ Fitness YouTube channel so you don't miss everything we've got happening on the channel, including all these new raw reviews and everything else we've got going on. Grind V2, now available, 5 flavors. Congratulations, Primabolics. You guys have taken one of the best Stim-Free pre-workouts of all time and made it even better. That is MJ's raw review on Primabolics Grind V2, and I'm coming to you from mjfitness.au. Live fit.